Hi everyone, welcome back. We're going to do some more math pages. We're going to be doing 29 to 32, which deal with some more fractions. But before we do that, because I miss you so dearly, we're going to draw a deer. We're going to start by making an uppercase R and extend the top part a little extra because that's going to be the body of our deer. Okay. Now we're going to make a V, an upside down V over here. Okay. And then I'm going to make the number 4 right in here, but it's going to be the boxy 4. Okay. So I made my number 4. And over here to make his tail, I'm going to use an uppercase letter D. Okay. Now, if you don't want the tail to be out so much, you want it to be a little more dainty, you could do that too. And you could kind of just give it a smaller D. Now I'm going to extend to meet these two spots, and I'm going to curve it because it's going to be his neck area. Okay. I'm going to put a line across here and then make this top piece an upside down U. Okay. That's going to be his head. So I'm going to give him a nose, and I'm going to give him 2 big eyeballs. Okay, over here I can make an ear. Okay. And then down the bottom, we're going to thicken his legs. Give him some feet. Okay. We can even give him some antlers. Okay. And you can now always go back and erase some of these lines that you've drawn in if you wanted to. If you don't want to, you can keep your lines there. Okay. But there you have your deer. Let's get into some math. Okay, on page 29, they start with some word problems, and they want you to represent it as a fraction. Okay, so there's something that you need to remember for this. You need to remember that the numerator is going to be what you are sharing. So what is being shared? The denominator is how many are sharing. So if I were to say that I was, that there were 4 children at my house, okay, and there are 8 cookies. If they get the same amount of cookies, how many cookies did each one get? Well, first, let's look at our criteria. What's being shared? Are we sharing the 4 children, or are we sharing the 8 cookies? We're sharing the 8 cookies, so the 8 is my numerator. And how many are sharing them? The 4 children. So now we have 8/4, or 8 divided by 4, which equals 2. So the children will get 2 cookies each. Okay, so now that we know how to do that, let's look at number 2. It says Marta has 8 cubic feet of potting soil. I'm going to start by writing that down. 8 cubic feet potting soil. and 3 flower pots. She wants to put the same amount of soil in each pot. That is a big clue that this is division because they're putting the same amount in each pot. So they're taking a larger quantity and splitting it up into 3 pots. Okay. How many cubic feet of soil will she put in each flower pot? Well, now we look at this. What is it that she's sharing? Is it the 8 cubic feet of potting soil, or is she splitting the 3 flower pots? Right, it's the 8 cubic feet of potting soil. And how many are sharing it? What is she putting that 8 cubic feet of potting soil in? She's putting it in the 3 flower pots. So we have 8/3. Now, 8/3 is improper because the numerator is larger than my denominator, telling me that I have more than a whole. So now I'm going to solve this and say, well, 8 divided by 3, I can do 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. Remember that this is my whole number. My numerator. And this stays as my denominator. So 8/3 is the same as 2 and 2/3. So she would have 2 2/3 cubic feet of potting soil in each pot. Okay. Always good to label so that way they know what you're talking about and you can show them you know what you're talking about and it's not just a guess. Okay, be confident in your answer. Show them what you have. All right, so I'm going to let you do the rest of page 29 by yourself. Okay. We're going to go to page 30. "30 has 2/3 times a half." Now, they're showing you this way with number line. Now, it's a review for us, and I know a lot of people like to do the standard algorithm, but I'm going to do the number line with you. So the first things first is my number line. I have 2/3 of something, so I don't have a whole thing. So I'm going to start by showing a whole. Okay, so this is one whole number line at the moment. I need 2/3. Remember, the denominator tells me how many pieces it takes to make a whole. So how many pieces does it take to make a whole? 3. So I'm going to cut this into 3 equal, or as close to equal as I can without a ruler. Okay. So I've drawn 3 sections. I only had to use 2 lines, but I have 3 sections. How many do we have? 2. So this part here is 2/3 of this number line. Okay. So now we want halves. Okay. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to take each piece and I'm cutting it in halves. Okay, and I have to do that to each of the thirds. And so I have our 2/3 here in the box, and there's that other third out here. Okay, so now I want half of this 2/3 section. Okay, so from here to here, what is half? Well, half would be right here. Okay. So I have now this piece that I'm interested in. Okay. Let's count how many pieces I have. I have 2. Out of the whole number line now, how many pieces were there originally? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 6. I know that this can be simplified down because 2 and 6 are both multiples of 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I have 1/3. And it makes sense if I look back to my original drawing here. If I were to take away, when I cut it in half, I had 3/3. I wanted 2/3 because that's what I had here, but then I had to cut it in half, so I only had 1/3. Okay. The next 2 pages, pages 31 and 32, have to deal with multiplying a fraction times a fraction, and they want you to do it with the standard algorithm, which you know how to do. So just a refresher, if you have a numerator and a denominator times another numerator and denominator, or fraction times a fraction, what they want you to do is take those 2 numerators and multiply them together, and take your 2 denominators and multiply them together, and that will give you your final answer. Okay, so I'm just going to do 3/4 times 2/6. Okay, they want us to take our numerators and multiply them together, so I'm going to do 3 times 2 over 4 times 6, which equals 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 6 is 24. Now when I get to my final answer, remember to always check to simplify. Is there a number that I could use that both 6 and 24 share? Well, I could sit there and write out my factors for 6 and say I could do 1 times 6. I could do 2 times 3, but I can't do any other combinations to get to 6. For 24, I could do 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, and I can't get there any other way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look. They both have a 1, but if I divide either of these numbers by 1, it stays the same, so that doesn't help me. They both have the number 2. They both have the number 3. And they both have the number 6. Now, when we were finding common denominators, we were trying to use the smallest number possible. In this case, because we want it to get it as small as we can get it, should I use the smaller number or the larger number? Who would give me a final quotient that is smaller? Right, I need to divide by the larger number, okay? And in this case, both of these numbers are multiples of 6. So 6 divided by 6 equals 1, and 24 divided by 6 equals 4. And again, just like when we were adding and subtracting fractions, when we made equivalent fractions, that's what you're doing here. You're just making an equivalent fraction. You're changing the name of it. Instead of saying 6/24, we're going to say 1/4, but we don't change the value. Because if I said to you, there's 6/24 of a pizza left, again, it might be hard for you to visualize of how much pizza is left in the box, but if I said it's 1/4 of a pizza, that's a lot easier to kind of visualize. That's what they mean by simplifying it, to make it easier for you to, and it gets to smaller, easier to use and understand numbers. All right. So you will be now finishing 29 through 32. And again, you don't have to do all of those pages in one sitting, but this video does talk about all of those 4 pages, so do it at your leisure. And may the 4th be with us. This is unreal, but we are trying to have everyone stay safe and healthy, and I hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy. Please continue sending me your drawings and your math work. You can do it through my dojo. You can do it through my email, emello, 2 L's, at newbedfordschools.org. Okay, so hopefully see you soon. We have another couple of more videos. All right, bye.